All you did was only covering the cost of study abroad, and you're acting so arrogant. Do you enjoy blaming people like this? The amount I had given her was $50,000, a sum far too large to be brushed off as she said only. Having treated it so carelessly and then having the audacity to shout at me in such a selfish manner, I finally lost my patience. I want nothing more to do with such a vindictive mother-in-law like you. Don't you dare show up at my daughter's wedding. Fine, I wouldn't dream of it. I hung up the phone in anger after a heated argument. I was too hasty, gave tit for tat. As the living room quieted down, I came to my senses. But I couldn't stand by as my eldest daughter-in-law who lied to people and even used her daughter as a tool to defraud money. To set her straight, I decided on a form of revenge. My name is Catherine. I'm turning 76 this year. I have 2 children, both of them are boys. Therefore, when my eldest son's family gave birth to my granddaughter Emily, I couldn't help but adore her. I didn't want to be a helicopter grandmother, so instead I made sure not to hold back on money for her celebrations. Events like her birthday, entering school, graduation, etc., I was always excited for the photos my son would send. When Emily was in college, my eldest daughter-in-law, Samantha, came to me to talk. Apparently, Emily said she wants to study abroad, but they were having trouble securing funds. It's such a shame for Emily. She's been working so hard at her studies. Well, we can't just cough up that kind of money out of nowhere. Then I'll cover it. How much do you need? Well, it's about $50,000. $50,000? I was a bit taken aback by the amount, but I figured studying abroad for a long period would cost that much. More importantly, I wished to fulfill my beloved granddaughter's wishes as much as possible. So I decided to take out $50,000 from my savings and give it to her. She thanked me repeatedly, so I didn't feel bad about it and had no regrets. However, it turned out that trusting her was a mistake anyways, as I realized it later. I heard from my son, Bob, that Emily had successfully arranged to study in the UK. Bob merely mentioned this like it was part of his work contract with no word of thanks for the money. Well, Samantha had been appreciating it all along, and although I was concerned about my son's attitude at that time, I thought it was just how it was. I was occasionally receiving pictures from Emily during her study abroad. She kept sending me happy reports like making a lot of friends overseas, having experiences she couldn't have had in here, and actually I enjoyed seeing it. But there wasn't anything about the expenses in her emails either. I wondered that I'm weird to expect appreciation, and though I felt uncomfortable, I didn't say anything about it at the time. Thank you so much, mother-in-law. Your help with the study abroad costs was a real lifesaver. That's all right. I got an email from Emily too. It seems she's really enjoying herself. Oh, an email from Emily? What did she talk about? Just about what she ate and such, nothing special. Anything wrong? Every time I saw Samantha, she was excessively grateful. Maybe Samantha had taken care of all the study abroad arrangements for Emily and hadn't really talked about the money aspect between the two of them. I decided to tell myself this to make sense of it all. Wanting both of them to be grateful might be too conceited. Though I felt a bit annoying, I tried not to think too much about it. It was a few years later when these annoyances became clear, when I heard she graduated college and was going to have a wedding. The news of her wedding came in the form of an invitation from her. I was thrilled. It feels like it happened to me when I found the cute message card in the mailbox. Riding on that momentum, I gave her a call. While making small talk, I conveyed a lot of congratulations. During the small talk, thanks to an inconsistency I discovered, I finally realized what had been making me feel uncomfortable all this time. Emily, dear, I got your invitation. Congratulations! Thanks, Grandma. Will you come to the wedding? Of course. It was during this seemingly ordinary conversation. We had a great conversation about good old days, and suddenly it turned to her studying abroad during college. She spoke of her experiences as much as she could remember what she studied, how it was at the foreign college. That sounds like a great memory. Just listening to it makes me happy. It really was. If I didn't have to worry about money, it would have been perfect. Huh? What about money? Yeah, I had to take out a scholarship for the study abroad. There were a lot of conditions and it was tough. I tilted my head at her words. I was certain that I had given Samantha $50,000 for Emily's study abroad expenses. With looking at my bank book, I reconfirmed that. I told her that even though I was puzzled by her story, but she insisted that she had secured a scholarship on her own with researching the conditions for the study abroad expenses. No mistake, I have all the documents of the scholarship when I borrowed it. I don't get it. I definitely gave the money to Samantha after discussing it with her. Over the phone, we were both puzzled over. But no matter how much we thought, we couldn't figure out the truth. She said she would check with her mother, then hung up. I worried about what could have happened to such a large amount of money as $50,000. But the next day, I was shocked to know the truth by a phone call from Samantha. "Oh, Samantha, good timing. I wanted to ask you something." "Hey, please don't say unnecessary things to Emily." Samantha shouted at the top of her voice without even greeting me. I didn't want to doubt, but the unnecessary things I told Emily must be about the study abroad expenses. With her voice, I was sure that she had done something with the $50,000. I confronted Samantha with a loud voice as she did to reveal the truth. "What do you mean by unnecessary things? I thought I gave the money for Emily's study abroad expenses." "So? I've already said thank you for that." "But Emily said she borrowed a scholarship. What did you do with the $50,000? When I asked about the usage, Samantha mumbled and tried to cover up. After questioning her heavily several times, Samantha started to make excuses like it was for Emily's wedding, or she was struggling with tuition for college, and those were obviously lies. Losing my patience, I pressed her even harder. "If that's the case, I would have paid if you had told me honestly. What I want to know is why you lied about it." Whatever. Are you regretting giving them money now?" "I just want to know why you lied to get such a large amount of money." When I confronted her, Samantha tried to change the subject by raising her voice. I was getting frustrated with Samantha, who kept lying and trying to cover up. But I stubbornly brought the conversation back to the point and kept asking for the reason, and then she finally snapped and lashed out at me. I was enraged by her audacity, defiantly brushing off the fact that she had deceitfully obtained a large amount of money, like $50,000. "All you did was only covering the cost of study abroad, and you're acting so arrogant. Do you enjoy blaming people like this?" "The one who did something to be blamed for is you, isn't it? Surely you didn't use that money for yourself, did you?" "You're so persistent. I want nothing more to do with such a vindictive mother-in-law like you. Don't you dare show up at my daughter's wedding." At her incredibly selfish remarks, I was finally fed up and responded, "I wouldn't dream of it," before hanging up the phone. I was too hasty, gave tit for tat. As the living room quieted down, I came to my senses. But I couldn't settle down without making my eldest son's wife, who had lied and used her daughter as a pretext to deceive money, face the music. I decided to take some revenge to correct Samantha's dishonesty. Though I had agreed to attend once, my heart was quite painful to inform Emily that I couldn't attend her wedding. However, I couldn't forgive what Samantha has done because I loved my grandchild. Taking a deep breath, I sent an email to Emily. Because of my distrust in Samantha, I conveyed my desire to hand over the wedding gift directly and decided to meet Emily outside. Grandma, you're not coming to the wedding?" "I'm sorry, I have some circumstances this time." "You always say that, Grandma, but you never come to my celebrations." Emily's words made me freeze for a moment. I had been refusing to participate in celebrations, trying not to be a helicopter grandmother. Instead, I have always been willing to provide financial assistance. But upon further reflection, I started worrying about interfering too much because Samantha seemed displeased. Regarding Emily's celebrations, I thought I had been satisfied with just photos, but maybe I was just being avoided without noticing. The money I had been giving for celebrations might not have been used for Emily after all. Thinking about that, I felt the blood drain from my face. "You know, Emily dear, I actually gave your mother the money for your study abroad fees." "I heard that from my mom, but she said she didn't receive it." So when she called me, I asked her about it. I told her about the conversation with Samantha on the phone the other day, how she had evaded telling the usage of $50,000 and how she had furiously yelled at me. Emily might not believe that her mother did such a thing, but despite my worries, Emily lowered her eyes and muttered, "I see." "Mom, she can lie through her teeth without blinking. She tells blatant lies, and if you call her out on it, she turns around and yells." "I see." "That's why I trust what you say. It's unforgivable that she'd swindle money." Emily took my hand and said, "Let's get back at her." Given that I wanted Samantha to reflect on her actions, her granddaughter's proposition was a welcome opportunity. Emily worried Samantha might treat me unkindly even at the wedding and suggested regretfully that I don't attend. Instead, she invited me to the pre-wedding photo shoot. But is that all right? Aren't such pictures usually taken with the family? "It's fine. I'd rather take them with Grandma than a mother who's always lying. I've always felt sad that there are no photos of Grandma in our albums." A month after this conversation, after discussing with her groom, Emily decided to move the photo shoot earlier to avoid any interference with Samantha. Seeing Emily in her wedding attire was even more splendid than in pictures, and I couldn't help but get excited. Observing the situation, Bob chuckled while offering an apologetic bow. It seems Bob had concerns about Samantha's attitude too. Upon hearing this story from Emily, he seemed to be convinced.
Mom, I'm sorry about everything. I couldn't invite you to Emily's celebration because Samantha told me about your leg condition.
I see. By the way, the money I gave Emily, is that all safe?
I think so. I was there to receive it with her.
That's good then. Bob seemed that he had other concerns about Samantha, and I was told that he is looking into it by himself. Both Emily and Bob seemed upset with Samantha's actions, and also this time with a large amount of money. Just as I was talking to Emily and Bob, who were completely on my side, I received a call from Samantha again. Apparently, she noticed the change in the pre-wedding photo shoot schedule and wasn't happy about it. She decided to call and berate me. Hey, mother-in-law, what have you done? What are you talking about? I heard you went ahead and did the pre-wedding photo shoot. How dare you ignore me when did such a thing? Why do you think I would do something like that? It's obvious. You're doing it out of spite because you can't attend the wedding. Samantha snapped triumphantly. I sighed and then decided to inform Samantha of the truth. The idea to change the pre-wedding photo shoot schedule came from Emily and Bob. Upon hearing this, Samantha realized that I had told the two of them the truth and closed her mouth. After a moment of silence, she started yelling at me again. Two people were leaning in close to the phone, making sour faces and shaking their heads. You probably said something like, after all, I'm sure I had paid money for Emily, right? Emily would never believe you without evidence. Excuse me? Emily believes me, and that's why we were able to have this pre-wedding photo shoot without you. Why would Emily believe you over me? Well, it probably has something to do with how you act normally, or would you like me to put her on? When asked that, a response came back like, what? With a loud voice. It seemed they had heard the conversation clearly, and I passed the phone to Emily with a frown and a look of discontent on her face. Mom? Emily, you really are something, not inviting your mother to such an important pre-wedding photo shoot. What were you thinking? Mom, you didn't apologize to Grandma at all, did you? Well, you haven't apologized to me either. What are we going to do about the pre-wedding photos without the mother of the bride in them? Samantha raised her voice and cut her off while she was speaking. Seeing this, Bob took over the call. Though he spoke a little distance away from us, it seemed the conversation didn't go well for Bob either, and he quietly shook his head after hanging up.
I didn't think it would be this hard to communicate.
That's fine, Dad. I'll get back at my mom. You said that before, but what are you planning to do? I have a good idea. Looking at Emily, who was grinning with a mischievous look on her face, Bob and I looked at each other. I told Bob that I would not be attending Emily's wedding, and I asked him to record the event for me instead. A few days later, as promised, Bob showed me the video he had recorded at the wedding, and I was astonished. It was a scene of Emily reading a letter of gratitude to her mother. My mother used the money that my grandmother gave me for studying abroad for her own debt repayment. As the crowd murmured, the video captured her voice clearly. The fact that the money for studying abroad that I was supposed to give Emily was used by Samantha. That she kept this from me, even Emily and Bob. That she had been ignoring me all this while. That even on the day of the wedding, I was made to miss it because of Samantha, and she revealed all this with a loud, clear voice in front of all the relatives. At one point, there was a scene where a figure resembling Samantha was causing a commotion and raising her voice. Stop lying! What's fun about disrespecting your mother? That's the truth, and I have evidence too. The camera caught this exchange. Samantha, who likely wanted to maintain a good face in front of her relatives, was ostracized and slouching at the family table. Even her figure of feeling discomfort was clearly captured on film by Bob. I was continuously astonished by this video, and after watching it to the end, I let out a big sigh. What a wild get back, Emily.
When I investigated and confronted her, it seems she used Mom's $50,000 for debt repayment. Not only that, she also seems to have freely wasted money on travels and shopping.
Oh, really? But isn't that a lot of money?
It's just the tip of the iceberg. She seems to have lied here and there, borrowing money from others too.
At Bob's words, I found my jaw dropped. It's not surprising that she would lie to others as well. It's because she can even lie to her own family so easily. But it's still too harsh. Bob decided to file for a divorce on the grounds of her bad habits. Emily, now married and living separately, thinks it was a good opportunity and seemed to be supporting Bob. After that, I received a report that Bob and Samantha's divorce had been finalized. Samantha seemed to not give up on Emily and is still trying to get in touch with claiming parental rights. Unfortunately, Emily's chosen husband would not allow this, and it seemed that it never happened. I wouldn't want to introduce my child to a lying grandma like her. Emily moves far away, determined not to engage with Samantha at all. By the way, we continue to keep in touch via email. Emily's husband is a nice man. We've gotten along so well as a family since the pre-wedding photo shoot incident. I've only received one phone call from Samantha since then. The call was her complaining, "Since Emily left home to get married, I haven't been able to get in touch at all. Let me see my daughter. You tell her everything was a lie." Of course, I politely refused, and I'm currently cutting off contact with Samantha. The $50,000 I gave to Emily for her benefit was apparently squeezed out during the divorce negotiations with Bob and added on as alimony. Her relatives also knew about her misconduct from the wedding incident, and now it seems there is no one else who would take her side. She is currently working day and night to repay the alimony. "When I have a child, I'll be sure to tell you first, Grandma. Look forward to it."
Oh, I'm always waiting for good news.
Emily is as energetic as ever and is even more friendly than before. She is even currently planning a family trip for us to make up for the celebrations we could not attend together.